Love that one. I, too, was raised on rock. That is Fugitive on Back to the Arena. You know, the last we talked with Jeff Scott Soto was in November of 2021 when Jeff was getting ready to tour with Trans-Siberian Orchestra, and he mentioned that he was sending the songs for his new album to be mastered. And now we have the Complicated CD, his 8th official solo album. And I'm glad to have Jeff back on the show. Jeff, welcome again to Back to the Arena.
Right on. It's so good to be back. How you feeling?
I'm feeling good. Life is good right now.
Right on, man. Good to hear.
It's always good when there's new Jeff Scott Soto music, though.
Hey, hallelujah to that. I'm not going to balk on that one. I'll take that one for all it's worth. And as we were talking, just before we started here, I so enjoy doing the music. I still enjoy creating, and the whole therapy side of where music takes me and keeps me going and keeps me alive. And I'm sure there are a lot of people out there the same. But there are so many artists, especially the ones that have been around as long as I have, that don't really have any need or excitement or they just don't want to make new music anymore. If I had a legacy career of 4 or 5 platinum albums, absolutely, I would probably feel the same way too. But the fact that I'm still kind of, I guess, a work in progress after 30 some odd years, I still have that hunger and that feel and that desire to create and to have that outlet. And it's great to still have people like yourself to champion it. It's fantastic.
Yeah. Well, first off, I took my daughter with me to that Trans-Siberian show here in Indianapolis. We both enjoyed the show, as always. Great show. And
it was good to be back. It was absolutely good to be back. We normally, that's not our territory normally. Yeah. That's the East Coast band territory. So it was so nice to be back in Indianapolis again.
Yeah. And I had talked you up so much to my daughter. I said, you're going to know when he's singing. I said, I'm not going to tell you who he is. and she's, when you started singing, when you started doing one of your solos, she's like, is that him? I go, yeah, you got it.
That's awesome. You know what? I really enjoy, especially this Christmas Day, that there's just a joyous, and I don't know how to actually put it into words, but the song, it starts off, it's a sad song about the runaway girl, and she's finally finding her way home, and then the middle of the song kicks in, and that's the celebration side, and that's where I really come to life. This is one of the reasons why when I was given that song, I wanted to present the joy that comes from the second half of that song, instead of just singing it in the same way with the same look and the same vibrance or lack thereof on the first half. And that's what I get so excited with that. When the band kicks in and it turns into that middle section onward towards the end of the song, it's such a celebration. I absolutely enjoy that part of that set.
Yeah, it was a great show. I mean, they always put on a great show. There's no question when tickets get announced that it's going to be a great show.
Yeah.
So now we have new music and Complicated, and the first single that we've been playing here on the show, Love is the Revolution.
Right on.
Great first taste of the new release. Talk about that song.
Absolutely. When I got the demo of that song, I was so excited because pretty much when I work with Alessandro, 98% of what you hear on the final product on the album is basically what it sounded like when I got them as demos. He sends them as blank canvases. It's basically a foundation and outline of music for me to write my lyrics and melodies over. That particular one started with that sitar, and I was just, as soon as I heard that, I got goosebumps saying, this has got to be a single. I know where this song is going, but the fact that I've never used a sitar sound on anything I've ever done, and this is going to another place, this has to be a single. And from that, when you think about the sitar itself, the Beatles made it such an important part of their music, especially in their message of love, hope, and peace and harmony and all that stuff back in the 60s, in the late 60s. And then Aerosmith would do it just the same. They use a sitar, and it just sounds like such a joyous instrument that I kind of wanted to take the ideal of what the Beatles normally, their message was towards the end of the before they broke up. And that was the whole peace, love, and harmony thing. And that's why my message is kind of the same, kind of an extension of all we need is love, or all you need is love. Love is the revolution that will get us through all the heartbreak, all the disasters and wars and religion and divisions, all the different things that are dividing the world and separating us. Love is the revolution that will keep us together.
Yeah, we definitely need a lot more of that these days.
Yeah, absolutely.
I sit alone in the dark,
that killer first new song off of that complicated CD, Jeff Scott Soto, Love is the Revolution. And Jeff, you mentioned Alessandro before the break, but I see other familiar names on the record, Fabrizio, Edu. Were you guys able to record Complicated together, or was this another one of those Dropbox type albums?
No, you know what? I have been recording with the whole COVID lockdown mentality since the 90s. I learned how to, when you're in several bands or your main band is based overseas, you got to find ways to do things accordingly, financially, within the confines of the budgets, etc. And of course, even time. So even back in the Talisman days, back in the Axe of Rudy Pell days, a lot of that stuff I was doing in my home studio anyway. Sometimes I would record it at home and then I would fly with the masters to wherever I had to go overseas. And we'd kind of nitpick and fix a few things along the way. But that would prevent me from having to spend a good amount of time in another country away from home, the flight costs, the hotel costs, all that stuff. It would eliminate a lot of that stuff. So I learned early on how to engineer myself, produce myself, set up all my gear. Everything was already in me. By the time we got to COVID, it's like, I'm an expert at this. I'm a pro. Let's make 5 albums this way. And so, yeah, and a lot of it does reflect on budgets. Of course, it would be lovely to sit in the same room and hash things out together as a band and do it all live the way we used to do it back in the day. But unfortunately, it's a different time now. And with the affordance of home studios and home microphones and everything, we can and of course, internet, we can trade our ideas and just keep staying creative from, just from home, even thousands of miles away.
Yes, since you were doing this for decades, you should come out with one of those recording at home for dummies books.
Well, I don't think I'd be a very good teacher. It's funny. There's so many people that say, Jeff, you should give vocal lessons. With everything you've done and all the different styles and genres you can sing, you would make a fortune doing vocal lessons. And I said, well, it's kind of hard for me to teach what hasn't been taught. I could give vocal lessons if somebody taught me how to sing, but nobody taught me. I open my mouth and I sing, and it's all from the influence. And if I could teach that, yeah, I'll do it. But I can't. All I would do is, okay, class, turn on your radios and start singing. Okay, class over.
Please pay at the door.
Exactly.
Well, before we talk about the latest single, I want to ask about some of my favorites, as I always do on the new album. Let's start with Don't Look Back.
Well, it's how do I put this in? I can't really put it any other way than the fact that when Alessandro sent me that song, he always sends me them in groups of 2 and 3. And I don't think to this day, since we've been working together, I went back to him saying, I don't know about this one. I don't know if this one's going to work, or this one's not really me. The thing I love about the way Alessandro creates is he digs into the artists he's working with. He digs into what he enjoys about their life and their career and their sound. That's basically how he dove into every song on this record. He knows that what's missing in my life and my career is the kind of the Talisman genre angle. I'm not really doing anything else that I'm releasing these days. So he wanted to really focus on that. He wanted to dive into, let's make a kind of, not a tribute to Talisman, but let's try and focus on that Talisman sound and vibe. And he's so good at that. He's so good at knowing how to harness the artist's sound and the best of what the artist has to offer. And that's where Don't Look Back came from. It came from exactly that mentality.
Yeah, I gotta keep a clicker, I think. Whenever I hear Alessandro's name in all my interviews, I'm going to keep it total, right. I think, for him, because whenever I tell him that everybody talks about him in the interview, he's like, oh, no, they don't. He's so modest.
Well, Don't Look Back itself, it's kind of lyrically, I always write in double entendre. I find it more interesting and fascinating to try to write a song that couldn't have double or even triple meanings. So Don't Look Back, if you just read the lyrics and listen to the song, it could sound like the demise of a relationship between two people. The obvious, it just has that natural feeling about it. But actually, if you dig deeper into the lyrics, it's more about the frustration that came from not being able to see friends and family for a year and a half or close to 2 years, whatever the amount of time we were kept apart from one another. So a lot of the lyrics, a lot of the themes on this album, they're, for the most part, they're derived from post or during pandemic, in terms of missing real life, missing my family, missing my friends, missing loved ones. But for the most part, I wanted to make sure they had a double and triple meaning in terms of what it could mean to somebody else. Somebody else could see that as, I just started a new relationship with somebody, but because of pandemic, we were kept apart from one another, and I can't wait to be with that person again. So I wanted to be able to translate and relate the lyrics to a lot of different meanings instead of just the obvious.
Is that kind of the same meaning with Until I See You Again, another great song on the album?
Absolutely. Absolutely. That song started more as towards missing mom and dad, missing grandma and grandpa, missing relatives, missing a loved one that way. And then I started looking into it further, and I thought, you know what, this is actually more about my relationship with my fans. This is more about missing my life on the road, missing the stage, missing, doing everything that I was doing and taking for granted in life. And so I really went with that angle. And when you read the lyrics on that one just the same, you get both meanings behind it.
What can I do? Where can I turn? I've given all that love, feeling no inside this soul, this empty room. It's spinning around and round. I'm scared and all alone, and I'm in need of something more. The fantasies I'm living. In my dreams are wide awake. I'm afraid to close my eyes until I see you again. In my dreams, you're here to stay, but I won't close my eyes until I see you again. See you again.
We just talked with Jeff Scott Soto about that song, Until I See You Again, another great song off of that brand new Complicated CD. We're talking with Jeff via Zoom today. And Jeff, I also want to ask you about a couple other songs that I really liked on the album, and that is Thank You and Obsession.
Man, I was hoping you were going to throw Thank You in. And this is definitely the definitive song to my fans. This is my personal thank you for all the years that they've given me, for allowing me to do what I do, for embracing what I do, but more importantly, wanting to hear more and staying with me as I'm doing what I do. This is my thank you to my fans, and thank you to the people that have been behind me and pushing me and praising me and just making sure that I get to continue living this dream.
Yeah, I mean, it's going to continue, I hope, for years and years. I hope there's many more, whether it's on somebody else's album or just your solo records. We definitely...
Yeah, even if it was just me recording it at home and creating and doing the things that I love doing, it's going to continue. It will absolutely continue. But to continue releasing material that people want to hear, that truly is up to people like yourself. As long as you're there, I'm here. That's how I see it.
Is there ever going to be a chance that you would release like an acoustic studio album, not something like live, but something kind of like the videos I've seen on YouTube with you and Beeler doing, Saigon Kick songs, and I saw Barry Manilow, Mandy.
Yeah.
Is there a chance that you'll ever do, and not necessarily covers of your own song, but like a whole new album with just done acoustically?
I was planning on doing that years ago. I was going to call it Acoustically Yours, but I've done so many acoustic releases, maybe EPs or just special versions. I even during pandemic, I did an album called Revisions that they were revised versions of songs throughout my career that and I had to make sure every single song was something I wrote 100%. I wanted the entire thing to be 100% JSS, from the writing, the ownership of the songs, but even the recording of them. I did all the recording myself. Everything was done here in my home studio. It was just it was a cool little vanity project I wanted to do, and I released it on my own just for the sake of I just had this yearning to do something like that. So I kind of already done it, but on acoustic level, nothing in the pipeline. But I wouldn't say no to those possibilities. I'm sure somewhere along the way, something like that will come up that I'm actually going to pull off someday.
Yeah, is that one that you did yourself? Is that available where people can stream it or download it?
It's available on all the streaming, Spotify's and Amazon Music, Apple Music, etc. And it's released under the Soto moniker. It's when I was putting it out there just before I was releasing it, I started promoting it, and Frontier said, "What's this?" I said, "Oh, I just did a little project at home. I financed it myself." They said, "Yeah, unfortunately, under the name Jeff Scott Soto, an album like this, we have to be involved. It's not. You don't have the rights to do that." And I'd forgotten about that, about the exclusivity. It's in terms of JSS. So they said, if you want to release it as Soto, that's my other band. That's my other moniker. Has nothing to do with Frontiers. You can do that, but under Jeff Scott Soto, I don't think so. So I just changed it to Soto. It's still just me. But for the most part, anybody who buys it or listens to it realizes it's all me. I just couldn't use the JSS brand to put it out there. And, they weren't being angry about it. It's just, we're contractually bound, and I gotta abide by the contract.
Yeah. How dare you use your own name?
And if I'd gone to them and said, "Hey, I have this idea for this," maybe they would have been keen on releasing it. But in a way, I'm glad they weren't, because then possibly the duets album wouldn't have come to pass. And that one I'm absolutely proud that we were able to do together.
Yeah,
that was such a fun project.
Yeah, it's still fun to listen to those. It wasn't that long ago that they came out, so it's not like they're old anymore.
Yeah, exactly.
So let's talk about the second single, Last to Know, which features Spectra. Tell us about that song and that collaboration.
Well, it's Spectra in the video. It's everybody that's on the record is basically everybody that's on that song. But for the video, I was doing a bunch of shows in Brazil, and my video director is based out of there in São Paulo. So he said, "Hey, if you're here, instead of you filming your bits at home and me filming my bits here, and I edit together, why don't we do something together?" And he said, "You haven't done a performance video in a while in terms of just having a band behind you, instead of you singing, and I use actors and finishing it off that way." And I said, "Well, if I use the guys that are my backup band for this upcoming run, it happens to be the guys from Spectra. It's a natural progression that if they're going to be in the video with me, I got to make sure that they're featured in the video. It's not just they're the JSS backup band." And that's why I told Frontiers, please make sure you release this as JSS featuring Spectra. It's a new band. It's one of their bands. It's under the same label umbrella. And it's a win-win for everybody. I got to use these guys in my video. They get to use my name to help push their name. Frontiers basically runs both bands. It's a win-win for all.
Yeah, and they let you use your own name.
Exactly. Well, Frontiers, they know when to let me use it and when to tell me, I don't think so.
We are going to check out the second single off of the Complicated album, Jeff Scott Soto featuring Spectra, when we come back after this break. This is Back to the Arena. That is the latest single from Jeff Scott Soto featuring Spectra. That's called Last to Know. As we're still talking with Jeff here via Zoom today. And Jeff, I saw some posts on your Facebook page about the Rock and Roll Fantasy Camp. Tell me about that, and will there be another?
There will be many. They're always running. There are always different cities, different regions, different themes. I've been doing the Rock and Roll Fantasy Camp, since the late, I would say like 2007 or 8, but I was more as an artist. when I was asked to do that. Now I'm actually a counselor. I started with on the counselor, and I think it was in 2015 or 16. I don't know exactly. And it's such a joy because that's my ultimate reward in paying it forward. As an artist, I've always tried to help my fellow artists, my fellow musicians get heard, seen, known, etc. You know, Spectra, August Zadra. These are the people in my life that I want to share. I want to share with the rest of the world.
Yeah.
But something like the Rock and Roll Fantasy Camp gives me the opportunity to share my wisdom, my experience, and kind of help these individuals that I'm actually coaching in a band make sure they feel like an actual bona fide band. They feel like bona fide artists and rock stars themselves. And that to me is the biggest joy at the end of the day, when you see them on stage harnessing everything that they got from me and that I got from them. That's the greatest thing ever. I love being a part of the Rock and Roll Fantasy Camp. So yeah, there'll be many in the future, and I fit myself in them according to schedules and openings.
And that's something that's just for people that play instruments, not for somebody like me that's talentless as far as music goes. You actually have to be a musician to go. It's not just something that fans would go to.
Well, yeah, it's not the Make-A-Wish Foundation. It certainly is. It's based on individuals who had the rock.
That's what I would get, huh?
They had the rock and roll dream of I love playing guitar. I would love to jam with Slash one day. I'd love to jam with Joe Perry someday. I love to jam with Paul Stanley. These people they just have this kind of dream of fantasy of being rock stars for a day or for a week, and that's what this is all about. They basically, you get to jam with all these big names, all your favorite artists, and you get to do songs that you normally can't do when you're doing a 9-to-5 or you're a corporate officer at Coca-Cola or something like that. That's what this is for.
So with the release of this new album done and your mini tour with Jason Bieler complete or close to complete, is that over with already?
Not yet. No, we've got another 2 weekends to do this part of the year, and then the second half of the year we're going back out and doing more.
Okay. And then we talked before heading into the interview about Monsters on the Mountain. Are there other shows that you're going to be performing at similar to that?
Not similar to that. I mean, we've got some makeup shows to do with Sons of Apollo in August, and then Monsters on the Mountain, and then I've got there's some other shows also with Sons of Apollo that we're doing until probably sometime in September, and then from there I'm doing, like as I said, I'm doing some more with Bieler, and I've got the Prague Power thing that's coming up in June. So a lot of what I'm doing now is makeup shows. I'm not necessarily touring anymore. I'm not planning any tours, especially for the JSS side of things. I really have come to the realization that I don't want to tour and bust my ass anymore, playing in front of small crowds and just kind of trudging across the world. I want to do things that make more sense financially and just, in other words, I want the quality more than the quantity. Back in the day, it was the old adage of you release an album, you tour, you release an album, you tour. Now I want to actually enjoy the shows and the one-offs and the appearances that come with all the work that I've already done. And that's what I'm aiming more towards in the future.
Okay. Well, before I let you go, I know you have a lot going on. We have a segment that we started since the last time you were on the show. It's called Rapid Rocker Response, where I'm just going to ask you a handful of random off-the-wall questions. Nothing to do with your music. I just want to pick inside your brain a little bit and see what you got. So, you ready for that?
Let's do it.
Rapid Rocker Response. On Back to the Arena.
All right. If you could learn any language in just 1 week, which would it be?
Portuguese.
Okay. Is there a reason for Portuguese?
I have two guys in my band from Brazil, and I do a lot of stuff in South America, and especially in Brazil. And I'm just sitting there with staring at the ground like I have no idea what you people are saying.
Okay. So what do you impulse buy most often at a store?
Impulse buying is more Amazon than any stores these days. And I'm going to say studio gear.
Studio gear. Okay. Name one person who inspires you.
Boy, there's so many come to mind as my number one. It's so funny. I'm just going to leave it at Prince.
Prince. Okay. Very cool.
I was going to say family or a loved one, but inspiration has to be as far as I'm concerned, inspiration comes from music, and my musical inspiration is Prince.
Yeah, and it's a given that family inspires you, of course.
Yeah.
If you could pay someone to do one of your jobs, hopefully it's not, interviews, which would it be?
You know what? I actually do enjoy doing interviews because it gives me a chance to talk about the things that are important to me. I hate the whole me, I factor, but it's kind of important for people to kind of dig deeper into what you're doing and how you do it. So, it would probably be editing. When it comes to doing vocals, the chore of editing usually takes 5 times longer than the actual performance side of things. So I'm going to say editing.
Okay. What was the first concert you ever attended?
Bee Gees.
Bee Gees. How long ago was that?
1979 Dodger Stadium.
Wow, okay. He remembers the stadium, too.
Might have even been 78, if I'm being exact. Roughly around that time.
Yeah. Did you enjoy the Bee Gees?
Absolutely. That was my band as a child before metal and rock soaked in and started digging into my DNA. The Bee Gees and Earth, Wind, and Fire, those were my 2 bands.
Okay. 2 more. What is your favorite type of food?
Sushi.
Sushi, okay. And what was your very first job?
I think the first job was newspaper delivery or peddling, soliciting door to door. Hey, do you want to buy the LA Times? No, slam door. Next.
All right, there you go. You got through it just fine. We can't go more than 6 months without new Jeff Scott Soto. Is there anything new on the way, either from like Wet or anything else that you're related to?
Yes, sir. I can't give any more detail than this, but during the pandemic, I started a new project side thing with David Ellefson called Ellefson Soto, and that's all I can tell you. But there's more information coming soon, and that's going to be the next one down the pipeline.
All right, awesome, and everybody can follow you to get that information when it's available on Facebook at Jeff Scott Soto, Instagram Jeff Scott Soto Official. They can also.
I always say if it doesn't have a blue badge, it ain't me. So make sure it has a blue badge next to it.
I'm going to incorporate that into my Instagram for the next interview. JeffScottSoto.com also for more information. Jeff, thanks for taking time, and thanks for putting out some great rock for us to play here on Back to the Arena.
Man, thank you so much. It truly is. Like I said, it's an honor to talk to people like yourself that they're there to help me continue spreading the word and the cause, and I can't thank you enough.
Always my pleasure, Jeff. We're going to play another song off of that brand new Complicated CD coming up in Back to the Arena Extra, but right now, crank this one up. This is the latest song from Ammo Track. It's called Last Forever on the best rock show on radio. Back to the Arena.